I hate you. I want to rip you limb from limb and discard you like trash. Like what you did to Ashley. You had no right to take her from me. I cry 7 days a week. 7! This is what's left of my daughter. If I want a hug, I have to hug a box and close my eyes and pretend that she is hugging me back.
Take him to prison, please.
Family killers who face life sentences reveal a complex range of emotions, from remorse and regret to cold indifference. These reactions offer a glimpse into their psychological states and the impact of their actions. Examining high-profile cases highlights the profound effects of such crimes on both the perpetrators and their surviving family members, shedding light on the depths of human nature and the pursuit of justice. Chris Watts is a former oil field operator from Frederick, Colorado, who was convicted of murdering his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their 2 young daughters, Bella and Celeste, in August 2018. Initially, Watts claimed innocence, but later confessed to the murders. In November 2018, he pleaded guilty to 5 counts of first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and tampering with a deceased human body. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 84 years.
With regard to count number 1, murder in the first degree as it relates to Shanann Watts, the court is going to sentence you, sir, to a life sentence in the Colorado Department of Corrections, followed with no possibility of parole.
Following the shocking revelations of Chris Watts' family annihilation, the case of Jared Chance brought another layer of horror with its gruesome details. Jared Chance's case is a chilling tale of betrayal and brutality. In late 2018, he murdered and dismembered Ashley Young, shocking the community.
I shared a room with her since I was 3 years old, until she moved out. I don't understand how anyone could do what you have done. No man can do that, I'm sorry. I don't understand it whatsoever. And then you can sit in your house and be there knowing what you have done and not do anything about it.
This is what's left of my daughter. If I want a hug, I have to hug a box and close my eyes and pretend that she is hugging me back because you chose to murder her, because you chose to dismember her. You texted me, Ashley and I are both good people. This is why we get along and like each other. Do you remember texting me that? Do you remember texting me? I would never do anything to hurt her. I swear on my life. Ashley is my ride and die. Do you remember that? Do you? Ashley was already dead and dismembered when you text that to me. You threw her out like trash. And she was your friend. Why? Why would you do this? What did she do to you that was so terrible? That you chose. You chose.
The gruesome nature of the crime was compounded by the involvement of his parents, who helped him conceal evidence. Chance was convicted of second-degree murder, mutilation of a body, and concealing a death. He was sentenced to a staggering 100 to 200 years in prison.
Of facts and circumstances where you killed and dismembered this young lady, Ashley Young. Only her torso was found in the basement. The police, although they did an excellent job in this matter, working every possible lead, could never find Ashley's head, her hands, or her feet. You, sir, in my mind, are a very evil individual. You are clearly a monster without any conscience whatsoever, and you are someone who is a danger to society and should never be allowed free. Accordingly, it is the sentence of this court with regards to the second-degree murder that you be committed to the Michigan Department of Corrections to serve a minimum of 100 years to a maximum of 200 years. I am purposely doing this so that you will not be eligible for parole until you are at least 130 years old.
Just as Jared Chance's actions left a community in shock, Christopher McNabb's case further highlighted the tragic consequences of domestic violence and child abuse. Christopher McNabb's case is a harrowing tale of betrayal and tragedy. In October 2017, McNabb and his partner, Courtney Bell, reported their 15-day-old daughter, Kalia, missing from their mobile home in Georgia.
My 2-week-old is not in her sleeper. Her passy is on the floor. She's not in her sleeper. She's not here. I've looked everywhere. Then I told my baby's dad to go check on Kalia, and then he's talking about she's not in here. She's not in here.
Look through everything, like under the bed,
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
bathroom.
Yes, ma'am. And I have clothes in totes, but I've looked all in them, and she's not here.
But I want my kid back, man. That's my child, man. I want my kid, man.
The community was horrified when her tiny body was found in the woods nearby, hidden in a gym bag. McNabb was swiftly charged with malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, and concealing a death. He was convicted on all counts and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 10 years.
On the crime of malice murder, I sentence you to life in confinement without parole. On concealing the death of another, I sentence you to 10 years in confinement, consecutive or after. Count one. Do you understand each of your sentences?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, the heartbreaking story of Christopher McNabb was echoed in the case of Matthew Ponomarenko, whose actions underscored the devastating impact of mental health issues on family dynamics. Matthew Ponomarenko's case is a heartbreaking story of violence and loss. On March 25, 2021, Ponomarenko, a 34-year-old from Parma, Ohio, brutally beat his 6-year-old autistic son, Jax, to death with a baseball bat. After the murder, he called 911 and confessed, claiming he was hearing voices.
What's the problem? Tell me exactly what happened.
I just killed my son.
What do you mean you just killed your son?
I'm hearing voices.
Okay. How old's your son?
6.
Where's your son now?
He's dead.
Dead where?
In the living room.
Ponomarenko pleaded guilty to aggravated murder, kidnapping, and endangering children. In November 2023, he was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 45 years.
Court now will formally pass a sentence in count 1, life imprisonment with parole eligibility, and for serving 30 years, full years of imprisonment. Count 2, an indefinite prison term with a minimum prison term of 8 years. Count 3, an indefinite prison term with a minimum prison term of 7 years.
While Matthew Ponomarenko's case drew attention to mental health, Eric Penland's actions highlighted the severe consequences of unchecked anger and child abuse. Eric Penland's case is a tragic story of child abuse and its devastating consequences. In March 2017, Penland violently shook his 3-month-old son, Eric Jr., causing severe brain damage.
He had bleeding on his brain, mainly on the left side of his brain. There was some blood between the two halves of his brain. There was likely a shaking type mechanism that caused his head to flail uncontrollably and violently back and forth, side to side. Banging of the jello inside that cup is analogous to the type of trauma that the brain experiences when it's being shaken back and forth.
The infant was left partially blind, deaf, and permanently disabled. The incident shocked the Youngstown, Ohio community and highlighted the need for vigilance in protecting vulnerable children. Penland was found guilty of 2 felony counts of child endangerment and was sentenced to 11 years in prison.
Find the defendant, Eric Penland, guilty of endangering children.
This case underscores the importance of safeguarding children and the severe penalties for those who inflict harm. Eric Penland's tragic story was followed by the high-profile case of Alex Murdaugh, whose fall from grace revealed a web of deceit and financial crimes. Alex Murdaugh, a former prominent attorney from South Carolina, was convicted of murdering his wife, Maggie, and their 22-year-old son, Paul, on June 7, 2021.
On June the 7th, I wasn't thinking clearly. I don't think I was capable of reason, and I lied about being down there. And I'm so sorry that I did.
The case, which captivated the nation, revealed a web of deceit and financial crimes. Murdaugh was found guilty of 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole.
Sentence you to the State Department of Corrections on each of the murder indictments in the murder of your wife, Maggie Murdaugh. I sentence you for the term of the rest of your natural life for the murder of Paul Murdaugh, whom you probably loved so much.
The trial, which began in January 2023 and concluded in March 2023, featured dramatic revelations, including Murdaugh's attempt to stage his own death for an insurance payout. After the dramatic revelations of Alex Murdaugh's crimes, Philip Snyder's case brought another chilling tale of deception and murder to the forefront. Philip Snyder's case is a chilling tale of deception and murder. In January 2018, Snyder reported his wife, Roberta, missing, claiming she had died of natural causes during a trip to Graceland. However, inconsistencies in his story quickly emerged.
You guys okay?
I'm okay, yes.
Okay.
My wife passed away. She choked on her phlegm. She'd been choking for quite a year.
Okay.
And she wanted to go down one more time before she died. I think she knew she was gonna die.
Well, so what happened? So where's your wife now? What happened to her?
They took her to a place where they cremate people.
Okay, and you don't know where that is either?
No.
Snyder eventually confessed to killing Roberta and disposing of her body in the Tennessee River.
Is there anything that you would like to say prior to the sentencing?
That's where I put her.
All right, so you tell me you put your wife in the Tennessee River.
Yes, sir.
And you two are, both sides are asking me to accept a plea today. Are you willing to take law enforcement to the area where you placed her in the Tennessee River?
If I have to, yes. Yes, sir.
In this particular case, I'm going to make sure that you do it. I mean, it's my understanding, and I haven't got to talk to the state yet, but one of the reasons that I feel like I'm making a deal with the devil here is that the family, I've been told, would like some closure.
He pleaded guilty to aggravated murder, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse. Snyder was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison.
I'm going to sentence you to life imprisonment with parole eligibility after serving 20 years of imprisonment.
Philip Snyder's disturbing actions were mirrored in the long-running deceit and murder committed by Carl Carlson, whose crimes spanned nearly 2 decades. Carl Carlson's case is a disturbing story of deceit and murder spanning nearly 2 decades. In January 1991, Carlson's wife, Christina, died in a house fire in California, which was initially ruled accidental. However, suspicions arose when Carlson collected a $200,000 life insurance payout shortly after her death. In November 2008, his son Levi died under suspicious circumstances while working on a truck at the family farm in New York, resulting in another $700,000 life insurance payout. Carlson's second wife grew suspicious and cooperated with law enforcement, leading to his arrest. In 2020, Carlson was convicted of first-degree murder for both deaths and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Following Carl Carlson's calculated crimes, the case of Rita Pangalangan shocked the community with its tragic consequences of neglect and abuse. Rita Pangalangan, a former teacher from South Carolina, was convicted of a heinous crime against her 13-year-old disabled daughter, Christina. In August 2019, Pangalangan and her boyfriend, Larry King Jr., left Christina in a hot car for over 5 hours, leading to her tragic death. In September 2023, both Pangalangan and King were found guilty of murder, criminal conspiracy, and causing great bodily harm.
We, the jury, in the above caption, on the charge of murder of Christina Ann Pangalangan, find the defendant guilty. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Pangalangan was sentenced to 37 years for murder and an additional 20 years for causing great bodily harm. King received 32 years for murder and 20 years for causing great bodily harm.
King is sentenced to the court on the offense of murder that you be committed to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 32 years. Great bodily injury, the sentence is 20 years. Sentences will run concurrent, credit for any time that you've already served. Thank you all. Ms. Pangalangan, a lot of folks have said a lot of good things about you and a lot of positive impacts that you've made on their lives. You're not being sentenced to death. You won't be facing a firing squad or a gas chamber or electric chair. Your life goes on, but it'll go on behind bars.
Rita Pangalangan's heartbreaking story was succeeded by the horrifying actions of Colby Allen Parker, whose brutal crime left a lasting impact on the community. Colby Allen Parker's case is one of the most disturbing and shocking crimes in recent memory. In March 2021, Parker, a 30-year-old from Lake County, Florida, brutally murdered his 77-year-old grandfather, Ronald Wells Sr. According to Parker, the two were smoking marijuana when an argument broke out, and Wells allegedly attacked him with a knife. Parker claimed self-defense, saying he used a baseball bat and butcher knife to kill his grandfather. However, the case took a horrifying turn when Parker allegedly cut off Wells's ears and showed them to deputies at the scene.
Ronnie and Ronnie Jr. right here. Ronnie, okay, what is that?
Those are ears.
Those are ears.
Deputies later found bloody human ears in Parker's pockets and a disturbing apron in his room that read "The Family Butcher," with plastic, bloody ears attached. Parker was charged with second-degree murder, battery on a law enforcement officer, and resisting arrest with violence.